What he just said has fans fired up as a Canucks superstar speaks on his time in Vancouver thus far in massive quotes on his teammates as well as the current state of this team heading into next season. We're going to break down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, if you're enjoying this Canucks content, you want to stay up to date, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates as they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is DeBrusk fires up fans. So after signing a 7-year deal with a $5.5 million AAV in 2024 free agency, DeBrusk led the Canucks in goals with 28. Despite the flashy point totals, the winger sounds far from satisfied after his first season in Vancouver. During the season, DeBrusk talked about wanting to cause more chaos to make a bigger impact on games, even if he's not scoring. DeBrusk further reflected on his first season in Vancouver during the latest episode of the 100% Canucks podcast with John Shannon and Landon Ferraro. And the first quote of which that we're going to hop into here, and there is a lot, so you guys won't want to miss it. He says, first on talking on last season, that I never really scored the amount of goals in certain ways as I did this year. I think just with Quinn Hughes being back there, obviously the way that he plays, I just found that I didn't know where to go on the ice at the start of the season. I was trying to follow him around a little bit, and then I just started heading towards the front of the net because eventually it would get there. Then you get more deflections and more tips, but it's something that I could definitely work at. I think there was a lot of room for improvement on just the net front side, but I would say more so it was my calling card. I guess I scored some greasy ones, but I was surprised with how many didn't go in off the rush this year, to be quite honest with you. So right off the bat, just him being honest about how he played last season. 28 goals was not enough for him. He wanted to score more, and he wanted to make a bigger impact after coming off of Boston, where he was the top 6 guy. No doubt about it. And that is why Vancouver paid him like a top 6 guy, because he proved that he is on this roster. On Boston, it was a bit of a front-loaded team where he was falling down to the bottom 6. So Vancouver was like, hey, your skills aren't being utilized up there in Boston. Let's bring you over to the West Coast, and we'll see how you fare with us, and we know we can bring some greatness out of you. And that is exactly what Vancouver got. Jake DeBrusk was such a pleasant surprise and an expected surprise, I gotta say, because when we brought him over here, I was super pumped about it. There were some people who were kind of down in the dumps about it because he wasn't a flashy big-name player, but he was big enough for me to bring over here where I was like, yeah, this guy is going to be special in Vancouver, and I'm very happy that they have him extended for quite some time in Vancouver and getting him at a really good deal for exactly what he brings to the table. And then talking about Elias Pettersson, which is where it gets a lot of firing fans up a lot on this. He's saying that's one of the things I was most excited about with coming to Vancouver was a guy like Quinn, a guy like Petey. You look at that, and as a forward, as a left winger, I look at that as a lot of opportunity. I don't think I did a good enough job for him last year. I don't think when I was playing with him, I gave him my best game either, in fairness. So him being humble, taking the accountability, this is the kind of things that you want out of a leader. We did see this initially with JT Miller before he left, where he was the type of guy where if they won, he gave all the credit to the team. If they lost, he took all the blame on himself. With Pettersson, we know that he had a down year, no doubt about it. That is a lot of onus on him. But sometimes at times there wasn't the greatest teammates elevating his game. Sometimes it was Niels Höglander he was paired with. Sometimes it was DeBrusk. Sometimes it was other guys as well. Conor Garland was a line mate of his at some point as well. So there was a lot of shakeup with the Canucks, and there was a lot of just team chemistry that didn't exactly gel the way that it did the previous season. Again, there was a lot of off-season drama, outside the locker room drama, off the ice, and things like that with JT Miller, Elias Pettersson. Then, of course, all the injuries and all that piled up and just made it a nightmare for Vancouver last season. Then you had Tocchet trying to navigate that as well as he could. It was a disastrous season just with drama in Vancouver. Hopefully that is all behind us, and that will not impact things on the ice this year. And with Jake DeBrusk just knowing where he fits within this and not having to play catch up or trying to find his footing in this Canucks system, I don't doubt that he is not only going to score a lot more goals this upcoming season than he did last year, but I think him and Petey are going to have a lot better chemistry going into year 2 when they really need to just get the ball rolling, where it's year 2 for both of them on a big contract, and just say, hey, we got to just hit the ground running on this and just absolutely dominate this season as a top 2 pairing. But it didn't stop there as well. Where he said, I think we were figuring out each other and it took some time, but I think that Petey is going to have a good offseason. He's going to come back in good shape, and the skill is there. Like the skill, his hands, his vision, I don't think you can teach some of those things. I have a lot of faith in him. I mean, I signed a 7-year deal to play with them, so I mean, I believe in them more than probably most. talking about Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. So obviously he wouldn't have come to Vancouver if it wasn't for these guys. If they didn't have superstar appeal and guys that were going to be there for a long time. Pettersson signed the long deal. They're hoping to lock Quinn Hughes down with all the moves that they're making right now, extending Thatcher Demko, extending Conor Garland, bringing in Evander Kane, and so many other pieces to say, hey, Quinn, stick around, please, please stick around. Please, God, don't leave us when your contract is up and go play with your brothers in New Jersey. And Jake DeBrusk is going to try and do whatever he can to make sure that happens, whether it's elevating with his game with Quinn Hughes and elevating his and Pettersson's game as well as being line mates throughout the entire season. And again, having that full off season, having an entire year already played with each other, and coming into this year where they can say, hey, we got this chemistry established now. Now let's really just take off with this and really show them what we weren't able to accomplish last year and make them pay for it this year. But what did you guys think about him firing up PD initially right there? I know a lot of teammates are just going to say a lot of things to the reporters to make them hear what they want to hear. However, with this, with the sincerity he brought with it and all the things he was backing up with it, you can't help but believe exactly what he's saying and take it at face value for what it is. And it was pretty awesome to hear. But it also didn't stop there with the praise, as he talked on the goalies as well, talking about Thatcher Demko. He says, I take a lot of that on my shoulders. I look at that and I go, okay, well, there's a lot of opportunity for me to even more offensive in that way. We got guys behind us that are proven in this league and are obviously great players. And we got Demmer behind us, or Kevin Lankinen behind us that can stop other pucks. And these goalies, one of the best tandems in the NHL, and having that as a reliable kind of like backstop, if you will, where they can say, hey, even though we're not an entirely offensive team, we can rely on our goalies to keep us in those close games where we can just have an explosive run on offense, and that is all that we need to win a game. And talking about how that goaltending affects the defensive stance of this team as well. He says they played on some pretty defensive-minded teams. I mean, only on one other one, Boston, so I'm pretty much used to this type of a style, and I think that I've had a career out of it. I think that obviously there's going to be times where it might be a tight 2-1 game or 3-2 game, and I take a lot of pride in being that guy to score that goal, to tie it, or to win it. And we saw a very good amount of that last season with Jake DeBrusk scoring clutch goals to tie a game late or to get the game winner. We saw that happen in Detroit with a game that I wish that I was at for that game. Unfortunately, I was working. And then there was also other ones where Jake DeBrusk just took the game into his hands, kind of like the way that Brock Boeser does, kind of like the way that Quinn Hughes does, kind of like the way that Conor Garland can do at times as well. And getting to this team to a point where we don't have to be worrying about super close games, or just having to worry that if we get into those close games that we don't have the goal scorers to make it happen, or enough of them that aren't the major ones in Brock Boeser, Quinn Hughes, or Elias Pettersson when he's at his best. And then it also goes on to the team scoring as well, saying that it's going to take a collective unit, but I think it'll make the unit better. I think that's how I look at it positively. Is it's not going to be about one guy scoring. We're not going to have that. We're going to need everybody to kind of get all hands on deck. And that is the big thing. You can't have any passengers. That was the big quote that everyone took away from Rick Tocchet. I think it's the biggest quote that everyone's going to take away from his entire tenure in Vancouver, was talking about passengers during that playoff run. And this is a team that can't afford to have any more of those. And Jake DeBrusk is also addressing that here, saying, hey, we need everybody to be at their best. It's not going to be one guy, and it's not going to be the noise surrounding one player. If one of us isn't playing well, there's going to be a few others that aren't playing well as well. So if there's a lot of noise this year, don't make it all about Pettersson. Basically is what he's saying, that, hey, we are a team. It's not just one guy that we thrive our success or failure off of. It is everybody. It is all the skaters on the ice, whether it's in the forward core, the defensive core, or the goaltending. It takes everybody. But knowing that we have that backbone behind us as an offensive guy is exciting. That's what you want to play for. You don't want to score 4 points a game if you're losing 5-4. It doesn't really matter. We need to get to the playoffs is the kind of point the point, and defense wins championships. Obviously, defense being the massive thing with this team. Having Adam Foote as our coach, he's former defensive core coach. So this is something that Vancouver is going to have to carry on throughout and have those, but still have those games where they have a high amount of scoring. They were one of the lowest goals per game teams last season in the NHL. You can't make the playoffs if you're having that, and you can't win in the playoffs or in the regular season for that matter if you don't score more goals in games. Obviously, that's the key to winning, of course, but Vancouver needs to be in more of those games where it's not just a close, high-scoring game like that Rangers crapshoot that we saw last year, where it was just back and forth in that third period. It needs to be games where Vancouver is just putting them away. It's winning by 2+ goals. It's getting ahead by 2 goals early so you have that cushion so that if you get in a position where that team gets hot, you're not completely losing your lead and choking it. So there's a lot of things at play here where Vancouver needs to make sure that they have the right mindset heading into next year. And Jake DeBrusk is setting the tone really well for this, making sure that he's gassing up his teammates, gassing up the team, also assessing where he needs to get better, where the team needs to be better, and all around how this Canucks team can be the best team that they can be to hopefully go on a playoff run next year. But what did you guys think about Jake DeBrusk's comments on Elias Pettersson, on Thatcher Demko, on last season? Do you guys think that he's going to get more than 30 goals this season? Let us know down in the comments down below what you guys think. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. Make sure to leave a like, hit those comments, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates as they drop with the subscribe button. But for now, I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.